I can introduce Alison. She's a senior at WMU, majoring in political science and environmental and sustainability studies. She's the vice president of Club Students for a Sustainable Earth and the director of sustainability of Western Student Association, which is Western student government.
So yes, hi, I'm Allison. I am a senior at Western. I'm doing political science and environmental and sustainability studies with a minor in race and ethnic relations. Just talking about a little bit what I do. Um, yes, I am vice president of Students for a Sustainable Earth. It is the, I would say, kind of main environmentally focused sustainable group or club on campus. Um, and we do a lot of fun stuff. We did some going through magazines and kind of making like a vision board of what we hope to see for the future. We have done clothing swaps in the past, and I'm hoping to potentially bring that back because I think it's a really good idea and free, so good way to promote secondhand clothing and yeah, getting that for yourself. And yeah, I also, yes, am director of sustainability for the Western Student Association. So the Western Student Association is the student government on campus. I'm really glad they have a director of sustainability as part of their like presidential cabinet. Because yeah, they recognize that sustainability is really important, and it should be that something that our student government talks about and has someone advocating for. So yeah, what I do within that is the Student Sustainability Grant. For those of you who don't know, the Student Sustainability Grant is a grant that we do at Western, and it is yeah, a way to bring your ideas that you have for campus to life. And I think it's a really great opportunity because it is like a real grant. You have the application process and everything, but it's a chance to, if you have an idea, implement it on campus to make things more sustainable. I know in the past, some of the things have been like the window treatments to help birds from running into the windows. I know something that my club SSC did in the past was promoting these reusable containers for the Valley Dining Center. They have like a grab and go area. So we tried to promote those reusable containers rather than the single use containers that come automatically. We wanted to make sure that people knew there was a sustainable option. And yeah, we're able to kind of expand the collection of reusable containers that they had. And yeah, a lot of great ideas. And so what I do with that is I lead the allocations commission. And so that is a group of, I think we have 9 people this year that help decide what projects get funding and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I get to put together a commission and lead this group of people about the different like grant projects that we have available at the time. Like last semester, I know we had an organization, Lead Corps, who wanted to do some outdoor camping and like promoting going out into the outdoors. That the commission was very interested in and decided to fully fund. And we also decide if there is not enough money to fund them all, which unfortunately sometimes there's not. We did not have enough money this year to fund all of them. So the commission kind of decided which ones to either selectively fund or not fund. I know one of those was a reusable or drinking fountain that we have funded grants for those in the past, but we kind of decided that in the grand scheme of things, we would, I guess, like at some point for the university to do it, and also decided that the other projects had a bit more merit or connection to sustainability. And yeah, yes. And then what I also do is kind of like technical stuff. So I kind of wrote up some bylaws for the allocations commission itself. And yeah, so now there's more of a concrete way that the commission works and a little bit more leniency, because I know the commission used to have to be one person from each academic college. And unfortunately, we have found that that's a little unattainable. There's not a whole lot of interest, but I was able to get 9 members this year, which is really cool. And yeah, not all of them are from each and every academic college, but we do have good diversity. And yeah, it's written in the bylaws too that we do keep the diversity of the colleges in mind because sustainability matters to every college. And yeah, the big thing that I am working on currently is Green Week. So last year, I'm sure you all know Climate Emergency Month. At the end of that month, our previous director of sustainability did a Green Week, which was kind of more chock full of events, and ended in the Sustainability Summit on Friday. So I'm hoping to do something similar to that, just to kind of, yeah, have a week full of activities that are green and get people to be aware of all the initiatives that are happening on campus, and yeah, some ways that they can be sustainable themselves. So I have some ideas that I would like to go through with you all. So what I have currently is I am thinking about kind of loosely doing like theme days. The first day would be learn, and that would involve different events around, yeah, learning about different sustainability things, like information sessions, understanding like what the problem is, yeah, kind of more presentations. Recycle, I was thinking of doing a game of SSC has done it before. It's, I think we title it, Is It Recyclable? So we just have a bunch of items, and then you just ask people, is this recyclable or is it not? And it's, I think, a fun way, an engaging way to kind of teach people about recycling and what recycling, because I know I personally struggle with recycling sometimes, and it's really hard to know what you can recycle and where and whatnot. But yeah, so I have a plan to do that in the student center to hopefully get a lot of engagement because I feel like that's something that you can do kind of quickly too. Like if you're on your way to class, you can just, I guess, like ask them, is this recyclable? And then they could say no, and they're like, oh, it actually is. And then you learn something new just as you're headed to class. Um, so yes, uh, reuse would be another event that I would want to do, or another theme day that I would want to do. Um, that would involve, yeah, like the clothing swap. Um, I'd be interested in doing the clothing swap for that, or having that be an event, um, just to, I guess, recognize that secondhand alternatives are available. Um, and yeah, next would be reduce. Um, and that would be more of kind of, I have more on this in a little bit, but kind of, yeah, reducing um, your footprint and using less single use um, plastics. Um, so, yes, so far I have interest from two clubs on campus, SSE and the Bronco Wind Team. So I am hoping that the wind team will do kind of an info session about wind power, or just kind of an info session about their club in general. Um, and then, yes, SSC would be doing the Is It Recyclable game and the clothing swap. Another event that I am looking to do is a sustainability jobs panel, because I know that was popular last year among students. So I want to continue that. Another event I have planned is planting on campus. Not entirely sure where that'll be. I am talking to the greenhouse potentially for just planting like in the greenhouse, or like being able to take your plant in the greenhouse. I'm also talking to NASO, the Native American Student Organization. They have a garden on campus. I'm not entirely sure where, um, but talking about potentially planting some stuff um, over there with them. Yes. And then the next thing is Indigenous sustainability collaboration. I think that would be interesting to do with NASO and also with another student organization, Nunusaku Student Organization, and that is for the Moluccan Islands. I have a good friend who is the president of that club, and she was interested in potentially collaborating, and I think it's a great idea to kind of show the interconnectedness between like Indigenous advocacy and sustainability, and using like Indigenous practices that were already sustainable. Um, so yeah, I have a meeting with her to talk more about that on Monday. And then I also wanted to do a trash pickup, hopefully. I feel like that's always helpful to do. And there's plenty of trash on campus. I know SSE did a trash pickup last year, and they definitely found a lot of stuff, and they were only covering a small area of campus. So I think that would be really beneficial and a way to get outside and do things. Yeah. So I do have a couple of kind of ideas or things that I was interested in asking you all. Um, so sustainability jobs. Um, I really want to do a sustainability jobs panel. Um, I am not entirely sure who all to have on the panel because I want to make sure that I have um, a, I guess, diversity of like different people on the sustainability jobs aspect of it. Um, so like kind of a nonprofit person, a government person, maybe like a business person, um, someone on the side of renewable energy, but or a professor. Um, and so, yeah, I guess my question to you all would be with that, I guess what would be important to include? Um, and are there any potential contacts that you all would have?
I can give you some business people around Kalamazoo, so we can do that offline, but there's
Okay, yeah,
many who would probably jump at the chance to be on your panel.
Lisa Giacciano and I organized the Sustainability Careers Panel last year. We had, I don't know, 5 people, I think we brought in from a variety of backgrounds, different areas, trying to appeal to the students with very different degrees. Because you can have a sustainability related career almost no matter what you major in, right? Yeah, so and we did have a lot of interest in that. And then we had people that we couldn't include. So I'm sure both of us would be very happy to serve as a resource as you consider who to invite. I think it's a great idea. We had a lot of interest last year.
perfect. Yeah.
Okay, so now Rick is asking, how aware do you think the students are about greenhouse gases? How concerned are they that things should be done?
I would say from my perspective, people are concerned and definitely know that there is a problem. Um, I think a lot of people on campus and I guess frustrations that I hear are kind of the issue of um, we know that there is an issue, but either kind of being ambivalent about it or I guess feeling hopeless about it because yeah, I know I kind of struggle with that sometimes because individual impacts do make a difference, of course, but it is kind of hard without some systemic change and stuff like that. So I would say that they, for the most part, are aware and yeah, I guess I think for the most part people care, but are not really sure what to do.
How do students communicate events among themselves? You're planning all these events for Green Week. How do you communicate that out to all? I mean, you got thousands of people on campus, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So, what are the means of communication here?
That
Um,
is definitely a huge issue. I would say it is very hard to get information out to everyone. Um, yes, it is very hard. Some things that I have done or that my clubs have done are doing like posters because posters are like a big thing on campus. Another is yeah, having an Instagram, and just promoting that whenever you're tabling. Tabling is also a good way to kind of get your like name and ideas out there to students. I think that's really important. I think the most, definitely the most interest that I have seen for both SSE and WSA was at Bronco Bash, just because of the amount of like draw that it gets. And once people are, I guess, there, like the first step is getting them there. And that's what's kind of hard, because I think engagement is pretty low on campus. We did actually just recently have our student body election for student government, and we really tried promoting that. We tabled every day. We had an event where we gave people pizza for voting. We really advertised it. We had an entire Instagram devoted to please vote in the elections. And we ended up getting, I think, somewhere over 700 responses, which is good, but I think it's also around 4.5% of the total population of Western.
So is the student body, the government, the only means of crossing all of the various colleges for communication? And does the student government actually have, is there anything organized about communication across the whole campus?
There is a little bit. So we have a director of marketing and outreach, and she does a lot for, yeah, kind of communication and getting our name out there. We have a newsletter that is monthly, and yeah, that is, we have gotten to students pretty decently through that, but and I think that does go out to the whole student body.
Jeff, you had your hand up. Did it have to do with this discussion?
Yeah, and it does. Jeff Spolster, Director, Office for Sustainability. I work with Alison quite directly on the grants and am often asking her, what are you hearing from the student body? What are they saying? What do they care about? How's the anxiety, and this question of how do you communicate to all students and staff and faculty and administrators and alumni and community members is a real, I mean, it's been on my mind for 5 years plus. And I'll tell you, the student leaders like Alison have tried some new things recently. Like they were convinced if we went with Slack as a platform, we could pull people together and everyone would pay attention to it. And honestly, that sort of fizzled. And I think Alison and I both have on our to-do list, build a reliable, diverse, intergenerational communication network. And that's really hard when you try to communicate with, I'm in my mid 40s. There are older folks than me and younger folks and college students and my own son, who is a climate change leader in high school. And everyone's on a different platform. And if you want to reach everyone, you need to be on all those platforms and have visibility and have clout, meaning people see your stuff and they trust you. And literally over the years, the office has been building more and more platform sustainability communications, but it always feels like it's never enough because you always feel this in the back of your mind, like we tried to reach everyone and only 5% of people opened the email or saw that, item on social media. So it's a real it's a very real challenge, and I want to credit, Allison and her fellow students. It's on their minds. Like they want to figure out an efficient way to get a message out to all the right parties. And I think it's really important in terms of building collective action and movement activity. It's the question of the day, as far as I'm concerned. And every day I think about, like, should we be doing programs like bicycles and composting and food growing and recycling and solar panels, or should I be communicating and only communicating with wide audiences? So it's on our minds. And I'm interested in Allison's time as director at WSA. I'm going to be listening closely to, like, what should we try next, on communications.
Okay, that ties in with Rick's third question. Do you get faculty support?
I would say sometimes it is a little hard, but overall, I would say pretty supportive. Yeah. The Office for Sustainability is definitely very supportive, and yeah, I very much appreciate all of their help. Sometimes it is a bit hard for, I guess, support, I guess, in the sense that we have a joint cabinet meeting once a semester, and it's always kind of a struggle because each person gets paired with, like, their counterpart, like for the student government and for the university itself, and they don't have a director of sustainability on the presidential cabinet. And so it's kind of, sometimes I do feel a bit out of place within situations like that, or like with the I guess, yeah, presidential cabinet of Western.
Okay. An easier question. When you talk about doing trash pickup, will you engage others to pitch in and pick up too, so that it's not just your sustainability group, but and trying to get other schools, maybe other organizations, whatever, to help with the pickup?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I would love as many people as possible. So yeah, I would say, yeah, whoever is interested, I would definitely love as many people as possible.
Okay. There's a comment in here that I believe ties into the panel, which is that KVCC has a wind turbine program. And
Nice.
so that might be somebody from there. I actually knew somebody who went through the turbine program, was able to get excellent jobs through it, upon graduation. And so when he went to it, he had gone to a wind turbine conference in Chicago just to find out about it. And at that point, KVCC was rated as one of the top schools in the country for wind turbine. So you might want to maybe add somebody from there to your panel. Kate Miller is saying, I know a builder who designs and builds passive homes. So she might also be a source to contact somebody like that, okay? Some campuses have banned the sale of water bottles, which has a big carbon footprint. Do you think students might be open to that?
Yeah, I think it would definitely be interesting to see. I know one thing for me is I would want to make sure that there is an alternative. And I mean, we have drinking fountains, so I would say in terms of like bottled water, the alternative is already there. But for like food and stuff, I know like sometimes I'm on campus like all day, and sometimes students are on campus all day. And sometimes need to grab food at the dining center, or not at the dining center, but like at one of the campus cafes or stuff like that. But I would really like to see zero waste being implemented in those. Yeah, I guess my one, hesitancy, or not even hesitancy, is like businesses and packaging itself is, yeah, very unsustainable, but like I feel like it's a thing that needs to change. And yeah, I guess my personal opinion would be that there shouldn't be plastic packaging. But sometimes it's hard because there aren't as many alternatives.
Marianne, you have your hand up, so I'll take you before the next thing here.
I have two questions, Allison. One is, you've mentioned your plan for Green Week, but not the dates.
You are correct. So sorry about that. It is going to be March 25th through 29th.
So in March still. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, the last week of March.
And the second question is, before everybody came and we started recording, it became clear that you're working on a project with Neil, and you said that you'd be willing to talk about that. So could you do that?
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, one of the things that I'm doing in addition to school and clubs is, yes, I am participating in the Bronco Challenge for Sustainable Impact. That is a really great kind of project to, I would also say, kind of like be creative and bring ideas to life in a way. Because yeah, the whole kind of goal of the challenge is to think of something, to have an idea, to create something within the realm of sustainability and like a sustainability business. And yeah, I am excited for it. I know what my group is doing. We have a little thing, it would be like a browser extension, and it's called Green Cat. And it would just kind of like tell you the sustainability scores of different like businesses. And yeah, I think one thing that I like about it that kind of would stand out is it would kind of be both, or it would be educational, because you would get to learn and see like what makes the business sustainable or unsustainable. And if you buy something that is more on the sustainable end, then you can get like, I guess, plants, native plants, that you can like buy with your purchases, like for this like little digital garden. So you can learn about the plants and the different native plants, in addition to learning about like the businesses and like the sustainability of sustainable practices, if that makes sense.
Kate had two related questions. Can the students ask the president or the financial officials if WMU is still investing in fossil fuels? And can you lobby the board of directors or the financial office if they are?
I feel like Jeff might be suited to answer this question.
Yes, I'm happy to answer. Thanks, Allison. So you might not know, but 2014, 2015 time periods, students asked the administration about this. You know, where are our investments? Are we invested in fossil fuel-based organizations? So we actually screened all of our investments in most of our endowment funds. All of this is documented in the Board of Trustees minutes and some media that came out afterwards. But in the end, the investments we looked at, we had about 2% in the top 200 fossil fuel companies at that time. And action was taken to take half that, so about 1%, and invested in renewable energy investments. And here we are years later. I don't know the outcome of that change. So did we actually earn more money in those green investments from the small percentage compared to the top 200 fossil fuel companies? It's a question I want to explore. I'm kind of waiting for someone to bring up the question. And so I think the big takeaway from that effort, there was a fossil fuel investment subcommittee. We met with business and finance and some professors from Hayworth College of Business. It was actually quite fascinating. And the outcome was 2% of our endowments were in the top 200 fossil fuel companies, and we dropped it to 1%. And now let's revisit it some years later would be the next step. I think secondly, Kate, you had a question about, are we weighing how much waste we have? Yes and no. In terms of waste coming out of dining halls, we're actually taking pre-consumer food waste, which is the prep kitchen food waste, the clean stuff, the stuff that has not gotten to the plate, that has not gotten to people's mouths and their napkins and maybe wiping their nose, right? That's post-consumer waste. But the Office for Sustainability is taking pre-consumer waste from the Valley Dining Center, and we would like to take pre-consumer waste from the new dining center as well. We're sort of taking baby steps forward. We've got big ideas on how we could handle all that pre-consumer waste. And then in the long run, post-consumer waste is something that some people around Kalamazoo are handling. Bell's Brewery downtown in a restaurant, for example, KVCC, they're working with a vendor called My Green Michigan to move that waste to Lansing, where it's industrially composted in a proper facility. But only a few of us are doing post-consumer food waste. You might be interested to know that a grant funded by Allison Student Government paid for food waste collection at women's basketball games in the last 2 semesters. So we took in some pre and post-consumer food waste. The long-term goal is to use the My Green Michigan service and to send that to an industrial composting facility. You know, my plug here would be, why don't we have an industrial scale composting facility somewhere close to Kalamazoo? I think we should work together on that with other campuses, the city, the county, the regional entities and municipalities to make that happen. You know, I don't want to truck stuff all the way to Lansing or Holland for industrial composting. We should do it locally. I don't think I could convince the powers that be what we could do it on our campus, but we are asking anyway for people to consider that. How could we gradually scale up to handle all of our food waste, pre and post consumer? And some of the grants over the years have led to some of this composting work because students have been calling more often and more vocally for food waste handling. Like, it's kind of a no-brainer for a student to look at daily food waste and say, one, like, there shouldn't be any waste to start with. Two, if we have extra food, we should give it to people who need it. Three, if it goes to, you know, if it's going to go to a landfill, it should go somewhere else. It should go to a compost pile locally. We should turn it into soil and use it on campus. And we have little demonstration projects of how we're already doing that. But that's one of the big things I've seen as a shift in student awareness and vision, right? That used to be recycle, recycle, recycle. And people are so frustrated with the global recycling markets right now. They're terrible, right? It's all in the news right now. And there's a lot of people calling for, you know, really investigation, essentially, like, why have people greenwashed us for so long that we can just recycle plastic perfectly and always have plastic forevermore and more plastic every year? Like, people are starting to question that. And I think food waste is a thing that our Western students can kind of get their head around and say, I could deal with that myself. We could deal with that collectively right here on campus. So I think it's very exciting to kind of get into the food waste question and what we can do about it. Kate, was there another question that I wanted to try to answer to help out?
I do have one as far as weighing post-consumer. That's after we've eaten our lunch and we dump it. It can also be psychologically damaging for people who have trouble with weight. So if they see it, then it's apparently very bad. The other thing is back to fossil fuels in the endowment at all. If you're trying to look at investments that are related to fossil fuels, there are certain banks like the Dirty Dozen who loan money to fossil fuel companies. And some excuses are, well, it's just for a few days that they loan it. Well, and insurance companies do the same thing. They loan money to fossil fuel companies to cover their assets.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
To my knowledge, at Western, students have not called for the administration to review their insurance company connections or to review their banks in light of that question. What they have called for years ago was the endowment investments. Where are we at? What could we do differently? And now I think we're in a place where, we could take another look at it. How did we do? And where are we today? Those are really fair questions.
And you could push it further to the banks and the insurance companies.
I have heard our faculty members in the climate change working group ask the question about our investment organization, TIAA-CREF. They're asking questions recently. They're asking like, do I have options for greener investments of my own funds? Is that coming from the student body right now? No. Have I heard it from a few students over the years, recent years? Yes, there are a few students who are quite aware of the things you're asking about, Kate. There's not been collective momentum to push an initiative forward lately. But those things can happen anytime. Like really, it does come down to what students get fired up about and who steps up to lead an initiative, and can we get involved and can we engage the administration? Usually we can. Usually when students really call for something intensely, the administration will step forward and start a committee and have a real discussion and explore it. So
Deb.
I think this is one of the reasons that so many organizations look to partner with young people. And I know as a member of Citizens Climate Lobby, we really work hard to partner with young people.
No, I know. Yeah, I personally didn't think about or really know about the banks and their investment in fossil fuels until the Bill McKibben talk last year. So yeah, I definitely agree. The education is definitely a part of that, and we need to make sure that people really understand what's going on.
one of the interesting points at Western here is like my job, our office exists because students like Allison called for it and they funded it and they've supported it now for 13 or 14 years because they think it's important. And what I'm seeing in my time working here is like students are hyper aware of climate change and environmental issues and biodiversity loss and crisis that we're in. And frankly, more and more what I see in recent years is high like eco anxiety and sort of a paralysis on what to do. And I think Allison really hit it. She's like, there's personal sustainability actions and there's collective, and students don't quite see the collective piece. And I think a lot of us don't, but I think we're trying. I think we're talking about it in general. And I think it's building, but it's building slowly. And we do a survey every couple of years. We're just doing one now. And some of the early results are flowing in. And I'm seeing something like 90% of students will say on a survey, like, I'm concerned about climate. I'm concerned about environmental pollution. I'm concerned about biodiversity crisis issues. And yet, they sort of feel like I'm busy and I'm stressed and college is expensive and I think I want to be here, but I'm worried about the future, right? So we have this weird dynamic of like care, but feeling within the university and higher ed for recent years. Nonetheless, I think that the movement is still building. I would argue too slowly, but it's coming.
Mary Ann, you have your hand up.
Yes, and there are two things. One is, since we're about done and we didn't have time for announcements at the beginning, I'd like to make a couple of them. The first one would be one that connects these conversations. We have ways of making systemic change, and Citizens Climate Lobby is an organization that works toward those.
Thank you so much for sharing everything that you shared with us today and for your interest in sustainability and getting us to where we need to be. We really appreciate you being here.
Thank you for being here. It was a real lively discussion.